Hey, hey, everybody. Yeah, there we go. Nice to see everyone. We are going to have a nice AMA with Mr. Do from Terra. And Chris Wang, who is the CEO of BitTrue, has joined us as well. It's going to, I think, be a great conversation. There are a lot of very good questions that came in from the online Twitter community. And so we'll try to answer as many of those questions as possible. But before we get into the questions, I want to give everyone a chance to just give us an update and a little bit of a background so that everybody knows who everybody is. So I'm Eddie from Crypto Eddie, and Kudus, go ahead and let me have you start.
Okay, sure. My name is Curious. I'm CEO of BitTrue. So BitTrue is a crypto exchange that we are probably one of the biggest XRP-friendly exchange in the world. And then today we are happy to have Do, CEO of Terra Money, to join us this AMA. So recently we were excited to announce that the partnership with Terra to add their very special token SDT to our Power Piggy program. So Power Piggy program is some sort of like earning program, allow you to hold your asset on BitTrue, and meanwhile you get to earn the interest. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I think your Power Piggy is very popular. People are very always excited to see when you have the specials running and you add new coins. It's nice. Mr. Do,
Yeah.
tell us what is happening in your world.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So, as I was introed, I'm Do from Terra. I'm a co-founder and CEO at Terra Money. So, why we started Terra is we wanted to build use cases for crypto outside of speculation. So, it started out at the end of 2017, early 2018. Whereas when crypto found speculation is a great use case for purchasing and selling tokens, but there weren't use cases that were impacting millions of users across the world. Basically, what we decided is that we wanted to create a payments application that could, span, across Asia and touch the lives of tens of millions of people across, tens of billions of dollars of transaction volume. So how we got started is we assembled 15 e-commerce companies that were each respectively doing $1 billion plus in transaction volume, and then got them agreed to build a Terra Alliance, which are a list of companies that agreed to transact and accept Terra tokens once it launches. So we've been running the payments, two payments companies in Korea, two payments companies in Asia, one in Korea called Chai, that recently passed the threshold of 1.5 million active users, and MimiPay in Mongolia, which is seeing not as much volume, but it's interesting from the perspective that it's a joint venture with the central government there. So basically, I think we're starting to make pretty interesting roadways for using stablecoins as a key part of the infrastructure to offer value to millions and millions of people.
So it's interesting, you have Chai and you have Mimi, and so you've decided to brand those under two different names. As you expand out into other geographic areas, do you think you'll localize the names for that payment process in more individual branding?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So Chai is a company that we stood up ourselves. So it's a company that we, the core team at Terra, continue to operate. But for MimiPay, it's a joint venture, and the team that's actually operating the company is local in Mongolia. So whereas we provide technological support, the team itself is a wholly different company from what we're doing. So eventually, I think where we choose to expand ourselves, we'll carry the Chai branding. But I think there's lots of advantages for using the Terra chain that doesn't mean that the party that's building it needs to be first party. So in cases in which third-party developers are standing up payment companies, I assume it will come from
mm-hmm. So it seems that payments is absolutely one of the best use cases for this technology. But I want to know what differentiates your payment. What is it that makes your payment business model unique or different, or why is it going to be preferred?
Yeah, so there's a couple of reasons for this. In traditional payments, generally merchants have to pay, let's say, 2 to 3% of the transaction volume in with respect to fees. And the reason why fees get so expensive is because there's lots of middlemen involved in the process. So the inside joke with payments is there's something called a value add network or a VAN company. But the funny thing is the value add network actually doesn't add any value. So all they do is that they take an Excel spreadsheet from the payment processor, and then they just basically facilitate the wires that go through all the merchants. And for that, they capture a fat margin that comes from the actual transaction volume. So how we choose to settle our dues to the merchant is in the form of our stablecoins. So for example, with respect to the Korean merchants, we settle in KRT. When we expand to Singapore, it'll be in SGT, and then so on and so forth. So what that allows us to do is two things. Number one, because we don't have to send out the payments through the value add networks, we're able to save a lot on the fees. So our merchants pay on average somewhere between 1.2 to 1.3% of the transaction fee, which is more than a 50% reduction on the fees that they pay using traditional payment processors. Mm-hmm. And of course, this is meaningful in Asia where e-commerce is highly competitive. So let's say more than a 1% margin on like an e-commerce company's margin, which is in the low single digit, is a huge improvement. Second, because we settle in crypto, instead of waiting the traditional 7 to 10 days for the payment to clear, we can settle every 5 seconds, which is our average block time. So this is a huge improvement in cases where slow settlement times have been one of the greatest roadblocks to getting digital payments adopted in lots of places across Asia. Because, for example, if you're a restaurant, you can't wait several days for the payments to clear to you because you need the proceeds right away to buy ingredients and feed your family the next day. Same for like cab drivers and lots of different SMEs. So we think that outside of crypto, the reason why what we're doing is fundamentally important is because we change cost structures and settlement structures for people to more easily adopt digital payments in lots of places across the world.
Yeah, the cash flow and the expectant speed at which people now have the expectation for getting a transaction done in seconds is just becoming the norm. So
right.
You're right. So which countries then, this is a question that came in from the online, is which countries are the main markets for Terra? What are you going to focus on next?
Sure. So one of the reasons why we decided to start payments in Korea is because first country by e-commerce volume in Asia. So number 1 being China, number 2 Japan, and number 3 Korea. Oh. While at the same time, it has significant fragmentation in the e-commerce market. So e-commerce companies are way more competitive here than it is in Japan, where let's say Amazon and Rakuten are dominant. So the value proposition of saving fees and shortening settlement times really struck home in this market. The next market that we have high interest in is Taiwan. It's the 4th largest e-commerce volume there. It's somewhere between $45 to $65 billion. And the competition for payments is not as strong in Taiwan versus what you would see in Japan, Indonesia, or some of the other markets in Southeast Asia.
So when you go into a new market, do you think you're going to go in and try to capture that market share on your own, or do you have more of a partnership strategy?
Sure. So I think that really depends from market to market. So where we see cross-pollination with high usership, I think we would decide to enter ourselves. But we would definitely be willing to work with third-party developers to open in different markets. Mm-hmm. And for interest of that, like we recently launched the Terra Grants program, which is a way for people to pitch us proposals for how they can stand up new businesses and applications in different markets and get that funded by Terraform Labs in the beginning. And so basically what we realized that if we build everything ourselves, then we need to approach everything serially. Whereas if we help to stand up new businesses in different markets, then that helps us to gain market share in a parallel economy. So that's one of the things that we're really excited about.
Yeah, it's innovative. So that just brings me to Curis, because this appears to me that the two of you are going to be able to work together to leverage off of each other's strengths. And I think everyone is curious, how does that look?
So, BitTrue, we are always seen as not just like a crypto exchange, right? We are seen as more like a finance platform, right? And then so many people probably aware of that we are probably one of the very first exchange came out of the business model that we call a power piggy program, allow you to earn interest while you hold your asset, right? I think we launched like end of like 2018, and nowadays, and then a lot of people also know that this business model being copycat or being used by many exchanges already, and then including those crypto wallets. So, I mean, BitTrue, we always want to, we're not just limit ourselves to cryptocurrency. I mean, this is work. Basically, what we're trying to do is that, first of all, we want to, I mean, like Warren Buffett was saying that if you don't figure out a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die, right? So, I mean, it doesn't make sense for those crypto holders, not to earn any money while you hold those assets. And second thing of all is that, I mean, that's also the reason why we are working, at a very early stage with partner with Ripple to adopt the best currency, because we all know that banking is not as free as internet. It's not as fast as internet either. I would say that, right? I mean, that's why Ripple come out, they build the software to, solve the issue for cross-border payment. And then Terra too. Terra, they come out the payment gateway network. Solve the peer-to-peer or merchant payment as well to lower the cost for the merchant. And then so BitTrue today, what we're trying to do is that we want to really connect, crypto holder and then the traditional market. What I'm trying to say is that, for example, right now there are like a lot of market, there's still a lot of users in global, they're still under bank. For example, like Indonesia, credit card penetration is like under 7%.
You're right.
Philippines is only like probably under 4 or 5%.
Smaller,
right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of users, they don't have real access to, let's say, financial service, including investment and loan, those kind of products, right? They are suffering. So BitTrue's mission from the day one is not just to become a crypto exchange. Our mission is more like we want to let more people have equal access to financial service. So if we want to define further, that will be from two perspectives. One, right now, most of the, let's say, you probably give most of your hard-earning money to the bank or to some agent, right? And then for investment. And then the most likely you can get is a small portion of the return, right? Considering the annual return. So for example, if I put money in the saving account in the bank, I probably can get only like 1% annual return. And then that's one thing. So one of the benefits we want to offer to our users, want to disrupt the current banking system to give the most return to our users, to investors. And also because of the natural of the cryptocurrency, we are allowed them to access to different kind of investment portfolio, investment asset in different market. So for example, if you live in America, you're not just limited to investment opportunity in the US. We probably could introduce other asset in Southeast Asia, in Korea, for example. That's the thing we are trying to do. And second thing, like I mentioned, so because of natural cryptocurrency, we probably will be able to, offer financial service to those people who are under bank today. They get the asset to do investment. They get the asset to borrow money if they want. If they need urgent money to send the kid to school, they can borrow the money from, BitTrue, right? So that's why we are trying to, always trying to be innovative as possible. That we're not thinking about just from crypto world. We're actually thinking about how to solve the real problem in the world right now. So how I see this is that the real world, there are a lot of users, a lot of people, they don't get fair asset to those investment or financial service today. That's why we are, when we get to know Terra, when I talk to Do, I figure, okay, I know that Ripple is trying to solve cross-border payment problem, right? That's real world use case, and then Terra is doing the same thing as well. So I always believe that blockchain could be the next payment solution gateway network in the future to replace what we have today, either Visa or Master or wiring system. So BitTrue as well, we are here. Today we spend probably almost 2 years to build our fundamental thing like exchange and then power picking earning product for our crypto holders. And then for the next, we are trying to expand that from what we have today to traditional users. And then to do that, we need to partner with this kind of the project that they really have a product that solve the real world problem. They really have the real world use case already. So Terra will be the good one. They have the stable coin. They have their stable coin being, the blockchain solution being adopted by e-commerce solution already. Have more than a million active users using their payment gateway solution. And want to have that kind of solution, include that into our power picking program. So not just doing it by ourselves. We want to partner with, different kind of people. Yeah, that's what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, it makes sense. They're complementary. I really like the fact that you have platforms that are working together so that you don't have to really jump from one silo to another silo. You should be able to have that cross functionality, I think, in all of the financial structure. So I think it's beautiful. I think it's really great. I think the more that companies do this, the more benefits come out to the end user. So I'm really happy to see that you're doing it. And, Mr. Do, I was so interested when I read about your business plan being your tokens are tied to real world assets. So they're backed collaterally to be a stable coin. Can you just talk a little bit more about that? Why you chose to go that route, and also what are you actually pegging it to?
Sure. So in the Terra ecosystem, there's basically a set of tokens that are stable against multiple fiat currencies. So we have the SDT that is pegged to the IMF SDR, which is IMF's currency basket, including USD, GBP, Euro, and so on and so forth. So it's supposed to be more suitable for international commerce and more stable against real world CPI than our individual fiat currencies. We have a token that is pegged to the USD, to the Korean won, the Singapore dollar, so on and so forth.
Interesting.
And then we have a secondary token called Luna. So Luna is the proof of is used as a staking token in our DPoS consensus mechanism. So by staking Luna, users help to secure and to guarantee the security of the overall network. So the interesting thing about the Luna token itself is that every time that a Terra transaction occurs, a small percentage, let's say somewhere between 0.1 to 1%, is paid out as a fee to subsidize block rewards on the Terra blockchain.
Yeah.
So essentially, as Terra adoption grows, cash flow to Luna grows as well. Second portion is, in order to mint $1 worth of Terra, $1 worth of Luna needs to be burned. Basically, as Terra adoption grows, the scarcity of Luna grows as well. So basically, the reason why we designed it this way is because we took a look at a lot of the cryptocurrencies out there in the market, but we didn't really buy the thesis that if computation in the network increases, the value of the tokens would increase. That just didn't really make sense because there's no incentives, there's no fundamental economic structures that computation in and of itself was guaranteeing to a token. Whereas for Luna, it's very easy to calculate how exactly the token will find value if the Terra overall payment network itself gains this much adoption. Yeah.
So were you hinted at all by Libra, or had you already, were your white papers already done before Libra came into the, I'm just curious.
I like that question.
Sorry, that wasn't on the list. I'm sorry.
Sure. So we're actually really excited about Libra. So obviously, So Terra predates Libra's design by a little bit over a year.
Wow,
But
fantastic.
where we find that interesting is that we always believe in more entrants, especially ones with already existing networks, coming into the market to grow the overall value of cryptocurrency. I do think, though, that with respect to commerce and payments, especially in Asia, we have networks that are a little bit stronger than Facebook because they're approaching this sort of angle. Whereas we are already working with most of the dominant payment and commerce networks in the region. So it sets us up to be, more suitable for actual settlements, clearinghouses, payments than Libra does in this immediate region. But, excited to see more players come in and happy to compete.
Yeah, well, it does lots of things. I mean, you can say that it validates the business model. And, in Japan, when we go to pay for something, there's not just 5 or 6 options. We have up to 10 to 12 options. And I think all those options are doing their individual incentive programs to match the demographics of the market, and not everybody's the same. So I really love the flexibility, and I really love the fact that there are choices. Yeah, that's the way the world should be. We should have choices that match who we are, our age, our interest, our likes, everything. So I love it.
Yeah, although I think you've hit upon like a pretty interesting point. So not only in Japan, but if you go to like Singapore, you go to Indonesia, and you go to like a convenience store checkout counter, there's like 20 different payment options that are competing for your attention.
Yeah. Convenient.
And I think
at least 12 here.
Yeah, so I think the problem there is that most of the payments are actually competing for user attention, which is absolutely valuable. But the thing is, trying to compete on the basis of cashbacks or a sexy UX is very quickly becoming commoditized.
Yeah, I hear
where I feel like payments are failing to deliver value is trying to capture the attention of the merchant. Because from the perspective of the merchant, payment companies are sort of like, they're sort of like a disease. They cut into margins. It doesn't really seem like they're delivering anything to the core business value proposition of the merchants itself, right? But where we're strongly focused on is trying to get merchants that don't already work with digital payments or have anxiety about the margins that existing traditional payment players are cutting into their business model, and then trying to find ways in which we can deliver more value with respect to providing lower fees, faster settlement times, and we're moving into areas that can deliver further value, like revenue-based financing, for instance, or, for example, a discovery funnel through boost features where we can generate revenue lift for the merchants by doing co-promotions or co-rebates with them. So that's sort of where I think we differentiate.
Yeah, the creativity that you have to build campaigns around bringing the customers to a point where they're feeling like they're getting value, and the merchants feel that they are getting value. If it's a win-win, which I think is what you're doing, it's beautiful. So I think it's good. I think what's working here in Japan right now, and not because the people love it, it just seems to be the focus, is it's a points-based system. So the more you spend on a payment platform, you get these points back that can be redeemable for the partners they have signed up in their group of affiliates. So it just seems to be the trend right now. But those trends, they come and they go, and I think you just have to keep inventing yourself, and you have to just keep providing something new that differentiates you from all the rest of the players. And that's where the consumer benefits, is because you've got these multiple players. Yeah, I like it. As a consumer, I like it. Okay, we're going to go to another question here. This is one that says, what is the biggest benefits users can get through the Terra platform? Now, I know you touched on that a little bit, Mr. Do, but I think this is not so much. You've been really talking about the benefits that the merchant gets. What about the users of the platform? What are the benefits there?
Sure. So we try to deliver value to users in 2 different ways. So number one, Terra itself isn't collateralized by real world fiats. So unlike Tether or USDC, which keeps $1 in the bank account for every dollar stablecoin issue, Terra is an algorithmic stablecoin that is backed by Luna. So basically every time that a unit of Terra is minted, we are able to generate seigniorage, which is basically the net of the value that has been created using the currency minus the cost of production. In this case, that's almost zero. So where we choose to spend this seigniorage is to fund, rebates and cashbacks for users that are on the Terra platform, similar to how I think most traditional coin systems operate. But with the difference that it's interoperable in the sense that you can take out this point and then use it for lots of different cases, especially in a world with different payment players that are using it. And in that case, like how you can spend these points, how you can spend this currency becomes much, much more wider. So it's outside of our control in some respects. Second thing that I want to touch upon is this isn't something that we're already doing, but it's something that we find super fascinating. So if you look at the world of ride-hailing apps, a lot of these applications are already starting to become interoperable. So if you look at Lyft, for instance, you can take a Lyft app as a user in the United States, travel to China, and then hail a Didi Chuxing. Or if you are a Korean user using Kakao Taxi, you can travel to Japan and then hail a cab using the Japan taxi network. So basically, all of these ride-hailing networks are already interoperable. Interesting thing about payments is that it's a much, much older industry, but basically no payment apps are interoperable today because it's highly regulated, there's fewer players, and there's more money at stake. Right? So for example, if you look at Alipay, for instance, it's a massive platform, and then you would imagine that any foreigners that are traveling to China could easily hook up to Alipay and shop for things in China. That is not the case today.
Not true.
So for Japanese users, for Korean users, most credit card networks block interoperability to Alipay itself. Where we think this is going to be interesting is that we already have a user base of people that are using Chai, and we have different payment networks in different regions, like GrabPay in Singapore. We have CP Group in Thailand, Alipay in China. So where we want to get to is all of these payment networks being connected to each other with Terra as the connective tissue. So instead of having fiat settlements between all of these payment entities, which are case by case approved by central banks, which leads to unreliable settlement times, and really it's not possible to build a commercial model. But if we have a cryptocurrency that is stable in value as the settlement layer and the connectivity tissue, then we can build a world where all of these different payment applications are able to talk to each other. So a Chai user will be able to travel to China and buy at any vendor that supports the Alipay payment network. Or they could travel to Thailand and shop at any of the 7-Elevens that are controlled by CP Group. So basically, bringing this level of interoperability to payment applications is one of the things that we're really excited by and we think is a core competitive advantage.
I'm from the XRP community. In many ways, it's one of the projects that I've been focusing on, and they are, of course, making a lot of progress in micropayments. And there was a question here that came in the list about micropayments. But as you were talking, I was also thinking about that interoperability, working with someone like Bitrue Exchange, who just put together his SUM application. Have you followed what he's doing with his SUM? No? I'm just wondering if you have any plans to somehow get interoperable within the XRP community using the XRP digital asset at all.
Yeah, so that's so XRP is something that I've been thinking about a lot because there's a lot of similarities between the things that we want to do and what Ripple wants to do. I think the main inroads that Ripple is tackling at the moment is interbank communication. So making it such that Ripple can be used as a conduit to transfer value between different financial institutions. I think our focus is more on the retail side of things where people can buy things across payment applications. So I think it's targeting a different sort of sub-goal, but ultimately we want to solve the same set of problems.
I totally agree, but XRP is completely separate than to the company RippleNet, which is laying their rails down all around the world. But XRP can be used, in micropayments and not in necessarily for the cross-border remittances, but it has other use cases as well. Like take, for instance, Coil, which pays out the micropayments for the bloggers for through a subscription-based model. But it's not connected. It's a separate entity. It stands on its own, the XRP digital asset. So I think you're right. You have two different use cases, and that's great. But XRP sits where it could benefit your use case as well as it benefits the cross-border remittances too. So it's just something to think about.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Chris, let's do one of these both again, because this question here, what's the function and benefits of the BTR coin and Terra in the world of cryptocurrencies for the real life in the future? I like this question.
You want to go first, though?
I think I'd like to play second fiddle to this.
So talking about the BTR, so I mean, I was asked about this question before we launched BTR. I think back in Amsterdam, was like a year almost. Yeah, and then so I still remember people ask me why we came out of BTR. Is this just another exchange-based token? Is it just used for the trading thing or listing thing? I said, no, actually, that we are aiming for, right? I mean, Binance, they have the BNB token already. I mean, for trading and listing or voting, this kind of thing, right? I mean, so BTR, like I say, I mean, from day one, we are thinking about ourselves. To define ourselves as a financial service platform that connect between cryptocurrency and then non-crypto. So let me try to explain this in this way. So like we always trying to, our public program at very beginning on day one, it was purely just a marketing campaign. We use our own budget to spend money, to acquire users, to have more users on board BitTrue. That's our very original purpose. But actually, when we came up with this business model, what we're thinking is, if that we can come up with something that, first of all, it benefit the crypto holder, give them interest while they hold the asset. Second of all, if we can figure out a way that we connect, the traditional real asset and cryptocurrency. That means, for example, there are probably some very good investment portfolio or asset in Southeast Asia or in our country, way better than US, way better than Japan. How can we leverage the advantage of each market, and then we return all this benefit and then let's say interest back to our crypto holders? That's the thing we are thinking about. So BitTrue today, we spend like another year past. I'm glad to say we steadily and then building our connection with some of the traditional financial business company that allow us to connect or link to the real asset and then get real return. I'm talking about the fiat return, like maybe it's US dollar return. Then we convert it back to cryptocurrency and give it back to our crypto holder. So if you look at, say, I'm always telling that our people, like some of my friends, that how much annual return you're looking for if you're looking for investment project. Most of them, they will say, okay, if they can get 3%, they'll be happy. If they can get to earn about 5%, they'll be super happy. Right? And then, but look at us. We are today, stablecoin, USDT, we're giving up 10%,
right,
or even more, sometimes 13%. That's something that we are doing that because we are trying to use cryptocurrency to disrupt the current banking system. So I know right now a lot of companies they try to use the same business model, right? Earning program or staking program, right? But most of the program, I would say, is more like again, getting your crypto asset and lending it out to another crypto holder, either it's hedge fund or trading company, and then they get to earn the lending profit.
Mm-hmm.
and then give the profit back to the crypto holders. But what we're trying to do, I mean, we have that as well, but that's just the small portion of our business model. I mean, what we're trying to do is really connect the real asset from traditional business and then the crypto world. So right now, if you're using the crypto world, because of the nature of the cryptocurrency, you can really wire or send your money to anywhere in the world, right? You're in US, you can send your money to Indonesia, you can send your money to Korea. So I mean, BTR is something that we want to, build this ecosystem. It's a financial ecosystem that will connect the traditional market and the crypto market, and also leveraging the cryptocurrency. The nature of this, cryptocurrency allow users to send their money, not just sending money, but also for investment as well. Mm-hmm. So that's how we are building. I mean, that's what we are building. And then we spend a year, and then finally that we are seeing that making our, Power Picky program or our earning program become sustainable. You can see that BitTrue today we're really supporting, including SDT, we just added that we are really support like 16 kind of token already, right? A lot of people, they are super happy about that. But this is just the step one. And then step two, what is it? So step two, we are trying to increase our penetration into non-crypto holders. Mm. Like I said, for non-crypto holders, if you get to earn like 5 to 10% of interest rate annually, they'll be super, not just happy, but I would say super excited, right? I mean, so that's something we are trying to do. We are trying to give them a fair, not just fair, I would say very decent investment opportunity and asset to those financial services. And then to get to borrow money from you as well. They don't have a credit card, that's fine. They don't have debit card, that's fine, right? But they have BitTrue to offer this kind of service to them. So that's all bounded about BTR. So what we're trying to say is that we are using this BTR, all the benefit and token is all gonna associate with BTR token. You hold BTR, you get to earn higher interest rate, right? You get to you hold a BTR, you get to lower your lending interest as well. So again, I mean, I know this sounds simple, but I mean, what we're trying to do is that again, like we are not just sitting here as a trading, cryptocurrency trading exchange or platform to serve the crypto holders. I mean, that's our first batch of users. What we're trying to do is actually to serve the other part, which, the very biggest portion of the population in global of users. And then I know that in US, a lot of people already have access to financial service. That's great, but that's just not good enough because the return they can get is very limited.
So small.
We're trying to increase real return. On the other side, we want to provide our service to, like I said, underbanked users. And then a lot of country in the market, you can't imagine, they don't have such system yet, right?
No.
So that's I would say that's the benefit of BTR. So some of the people, they say, curious, when can you increase the liquidity of the BTR token? When can I see the listing feature for the BTR? I would say that's great, but it's just the beginning of a journey. That's how I see BTR this token. I mean, because we're trying to say, we're trying to see that we want to provide our solution to more and more people, not just like 20 million or 30 million of crypto holders. I guess, like I said, you'll be excited. It'll be an exciting story to tell your friends. My solution is expanding to non-crypto holder. It's 200 million people, not 20 million. Would that be exciting?
Yeah, you hit on a key word because the velocity of money as you're trying to grow, liquidity is so important. And one of the questions on this list for both of you actually was a liquidity question. And I promised I would ask that one. And it goes like this. Where is it? It is, hang on, give me a second here. I promised the person I would ask this liquidity question. Well, I don't have to get the exact words. I think the question went basically, how are both of you going to plan to improve, increase, and get that liquidity to a level that it actually is easy to get in and out of? Okay, so that's a question for both of you.
Yeah, I think that's exactly aligned with, Ripple, they never worry about the liquidity of XRP, even though the crypto market is kind of, getting quiet or getting low, right? Or getting slower, because they have real case in real world, using XRP, to send out money, so that's why we see that liquidity be increasing, because BitTrue and then,
Yeah, there's
the US money transfer.
it's
Especially
still
during
a
this,
journey for
I
them
talked
too.
to one of my friends at Ripple. He told me that I asked him that how's the business. Today at Ripple, he told me that business is good because the COVID-19. Because people need to send their money to their hometown to support their family, and they are using the Ripple solution to send the money out instead of the traditional banking wiring system. I said that's great. That's great here.
Yeah, it's the building of liquidity, I think, is definitely a journey that everybody's on in this space. And liquidity is it's a necessity in order for the token or coin to actually function and work in a healthy ecosystem all around the world. So Do, how are you going to do that with, let's say, with Luna?
Sure. So let me approach this a little bit differently in token. I think as Curious as hit, it was spot on. It's really about building use cases, right? So I think for some of the larger stablecoins like USDT, really liquidity comes from the fact that it basically becomes a arbitrage layer for all the different exchanges, right? So it stably holds value as you transmit, your value from one exchange to another. So arbitrage is like a great use case for that stablecoin. But I think where we want to focus is sort of payments or retail value transfer use cases. So if you look at KRT, which is a Korean long peg stablecoin, as our payment volume grows, its liquidity is starting to improve as well. For SDT, we don't really have payment operations that are directly pegged to SDT yet. But one of the reasons why we think this asset is important is because it's one of those currencies that are at least directly removed from politicized monetary policies of individual governments.
Well, that's an interesting comment.
Yeah, so ultimately where we want the SDT asset to become is that once we have these different stablecoin markets in KRT, let's say Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, we want SDTs to be sort of like the anchor liquidity that connects all of those things together. And one of the reasons why we think this is one of our flagship assets.
Yeah, I think that's a great target and goal to achieve. That's really, really good. Yeah. So let me. I feel like I really want to. Everybody worked so hard in putting some of these questions together. Let's look at this one here. How do you guys plan to cooperate together? I know we did a little bit, but I think people are really looking for what the future holds. What is your vision? I mean, I think they're getting more down to some concrete examples. How are you going to cooperate together?
Yeah, so if I could sort of start off this one, we actually are moving from a sort of a first-party payments operator to being more of a supporting platform for lots of different third-party apps actually built on top of Terra. So in light of doing that, Chai will continue to grow. We have, for example, Chai Card on target to launch at the end of June. We have an exciting new acquisition to announce for a payments player that does about $3 billion in volume. I think around the same time frame. But at the same time, what we're trying to do is that we're starting to vary it away from simply just payments. So one of the new projects that we're really excited about is a project called Anchor. So basically how Anchor works is that it takes stablecoin deposits, so in the beginning in the form of Terra, and then users, and basically the smart contracts takes some of that deposit and then puts it into various staking tokens. So, for example, Luna, it could be the Cosmos Atom, Tezos, and so on and so forth. And then what those stakes would be able to do is it would be able to generate cash flows and block rewards that are coming from all of those different blockchains. And then, so basically, the interest rate to Anchor would be reflective of the highest possible passive income interest rate that you can generate on a blockchain. So we sort of call this the gold standard for capital income in all of blockchain.
Wow.
So one of the things that we want to do here is that we want to cooperate with BitTrue's Power Piggy program such that a lot of the income that is being generated on BitTrue is powered by the Anchor smart contract.
Wow, that's really revolutionary. Has anyone done that before, or would this be a first time?
You know, but there's so many things in crypto that people haven't done. There's probably like only a handful of people actually building things, right? So there's like probably 200 things I want to be doing simultaneously, but you know, strategically, I can only focus on just a few of those things, right? So
yeah, I know.
But it's definitely something we can do together.
But on Anchor, do you really think you'll be able to do that in what kind of time frame?
So we actually started thinking about Anchor late last year in a community discussion on Discord. So that's actually one of the really interesting things. That if you're running a traditional company, the people that can add value to your ideas are just venture capitalists that directly invest in you, or people in your team, right? But what's really interesting is that a lot of this ideation can happen with the community. I think this is one of the most beautiful things about cryptocurrency and blockchain communities, actually. And so we've been working on this for some time. We're actually on target to release the white paper and the spec for Anchor design at the end of this week. So everybody stay tuned.
Wow. Yeah, you just gave me goosebumps because I just really think that I can see it. I can see that. And you know, to get in on that, Curtis, at the very beginning is exciting.
So that's why we're talking here today, right? I mean,
it's really, really good. I love people who are building things in this space and doing things that have never been done before outside the box. That is one of the big motivators that keeps my interest, and I'm sure it keeps a lot of people's interest as well. Well, let's see. Let's check the time here. We should start to think about wrapping up, but let me just take a look here. Okay, that one was pretty much hit in the conversation that we had. Let me see if there is. Okay, so why did Terra choose BitTrue as an exchange to work with?
Yeah, so I think
careful though.
yeah, I think there's a lot about what's great about crypto communities, but with a lot of exchanges, there is a pretty strong focus on speculation, right? So a lot of the questions that exchanges would ask is, you know, how is the price of your coin going to pump?
Right,
or,
right.
For instance, like how exactly does this help, you know, the exchange, and how would it help trading volumes and things like that? But one of the things that really vibed well between myself and Curious is that we both have a pretty interesting vision that in the short term, yes, speculation is a great use case, but you need things to speculate on, right? So if nothing happens and the only thing that's going on is speculation, then the industry is going to die.
Yeah.
So I was pretty impressed by Curious's commitment to build BitTrue into something that's more than just a simple crypto exchange. He wanted it to be sort of a clearinghouse for different crypto apps to gain access to real world use liquidity. So, and that's one of the things that we sort of describe as our founding vision. So I think that's what clicked really well.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's a great answer. Curtis, how about yourself? You're shaking your head no? That's not it?
I mean, that's a big yes. I mean, so for me, like, you know, there's a lot of crypto projects, they want to list on different kind of exchanges, right? I mean, a lot of the crypto projects, they also approach BitTrue for listing. I mean, but today, why we decided to partner with Terra, I mean, we listed Luna SDT last year. I think that's probably back to last August. And then we continue our conversation and continue our partnership. Why? I mean, that's kind of aligned with the reason why we support the XRP on day one, because we see the value. We see they are building in, they are solving issues. Like Do was mentioned that, you need something to speculate, right? Right. So one thing I always believe is, again, like payment solution today is great, but that's just good enough. In US, you have PayPal, you have Venmo, you have different kind of payment solution, but there's always a barrier in between, right? So if we can come up with something that, really lower the cost, improve the efficiencies by blockchain technology, and then I think that's great. So a lot of people, they'll ask me, okay, curious, what kind of token you will add into Power BI your earning program? I mean, I want to make it as simple as possible. One, of course, we want to select those tokens that have great liquidity in the market, because we want to make as many as possible, as many people as possible to make them happy that they can earn interest, while they invest over this token. On the other perspective, we want to support projects that really have the product already, which has a real use case. Like, so payment solution, either it's Libra, Terra, SDT, or XRP. I all believe they have the real case already today, right? So I mean, we definitely want to support this kind of the token with BitTrue's business model. And because I highly believe that those tokens will be also recognized by traditional business. Again, we don't want to just put a token on BitTrue and then only crypto holder, only in those pump and dump people, they will believe in their token. We want more people from non-crypto world, they also believe in this kind of era. I mean, I always to say to people that if your cryptocurrency project is amazing, you have to explain it to people without using the word blockchain. You have using Purely is a payment solution. Purely is the a software for the bank. That's it. And then so I'm very excited. I mean, we can continue this partnership, and then I visit Terra's office last November after the Japanese XRP meetup, then I visit their team. I mean, I talked to many of their individual and staff, and then they are purely solid, and then try to build something out there, and then we want to support this kind of project for sure.
Yeah, I can see for all of the crypto projects, respectively, that reaching the education and the market and the awareness outside of the crypto space is a huge challenge. So I think everybody is always trying to focus on that and find out how to do that. So I think that you'll both also be faced and challenged with that same hurdle to jump over. Yeah. Do you want to? I would love to hear any final wrap up from the two of you. I think, Chris, let's let Do wrap it up. So you tell me what you want to tell everyone in this summary.
Yeah, so look, so we started with Terra because we sort of got frustrated by the fact that there's a lot of different interesting ideas that were coming in the form of white papers to market, but there weren't proper infrastructure to make sure that these apps can see the light of day. There weren't proper fundraising models, there weren't proper governance, and most importantly, there weren't conduits by which these tokens of value could be exchanged and accepted by real life merchants and users across the world. So we started out by wanting to fix that problem. But what we sort of learned along the way is that there are things that we can do as first party just by ourselves. But one of the most beautiful things about cryptocurrency with distributed networks is that you build together, right? So as sort of like a last remark, we are very excited to work with BitTrue on sort of building this distributed world together. We are happy to work with developers the world over to contribute to research ideas. to fund some of the efforts that are being built on. Of course, it's good if some of those things build on Terra, but that's not necessarily a requirement. So we just want to be a part of this story that, like, over the last 2 years, my belief in has only gotten stronger.
Yeah, it's good. I'm happy to have met you, and I'm really happy that you are working in this space, and I wish you all the best. And I'm going to be sure, just in case you didn't have a chance to look at all those questions, I always feel I feel bad for the people who submitted the questions and we didn't get a chance to get the answers out. So I don't know, maybe you'll have some way to do that for everyone in the future. Curis, give us your summary.
Okay, thank you again, Eddie, for having us today. I mean, I'm always happy and then honored to feel up, to hop out on your talk show, or having discussion over that what's happening in cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And then today, I mean, also today, I think for another 2-3 months, BitTrue will become 2 years old.
Mm.
And then I know right now the market is getting kind of quiet, right? I mean, because there's a lot of uncertainty happening at the same time. I mean, either it's COVID-19 or oil price, things like this and that. But that doesn't really stop us, I mean, from building. Mm-hmm. So every time when I talk to you, I always want to bring you something new. Okay, this is some new progress we are building, right? This is something new progress we are making. Like last time we were probably talking about Coin One cooperation, mm-hmm. and this time we're talking about another great project, Terra. And then so I understand that it always takes time for people and education and as well for them to understand what kind of vision or mission you are trying to achieve. And then I'm gonna repeat our mission again, and again, probably for another 1,000 times, right? So BitTrue's mission is we want to allow more people to have, equal access to financial service. We are not here for speculation. We're not here just for cryptocurrency. I'm hopeful we can really deliver something that either solve the real problems, either improve where we stand today. It's not easy, to be honest. It's not easy, but we will stand here. I think not just our own effort, but also you can see that we are trying to set up a partnership with this kind of great people, great team, great project to deliver or achieve our mission. And then hopefully you can do more. And then and I have to say thank you again to Do to giving us such great opportunity to work with such a great team. And then this definitely our pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm sure everybody really understands the benefit now of working together. And I think for people who had no idea, though, about your project, now understand a little bit better of your vision. And I think that that's great. I really wish you all the success. And yeah, I think it was a really wonderful conversation. And I want to thank both of you for coming together and taking the time as well so that we can educate everybody what's going on in the payment space and on the financial service space too. And having those two get together, it's great. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much. I think we're going to call it a wrap. And thank you for everything, everybody. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Do.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. You take care. Bye-bye.